Hey, everybody out there in Radio Land. This is a kind of a show and tell tools that we're using, tools that maybe you should consider getting into if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff. Um, we're going to talk about a lot of things. I got a lot of junk out. I'm currently scrubbing this whole room out. I've got to get the table clean, and I've got a bunch of builds. But we're gonna talk about some things, and we're gonna get over the learned helplessness. So I'm gonna snag this radio because I realize I don't really have anything to show with this part of the show and tell. So a lot of these parts, I go to AutoZone a lot, and I want to talk to you about getting creative. First, open your mind, get creative, allow yourself to find solutions to simple problems. Okay, so I didn't want to cut up the microphone for this radio. The copper roll I just showed you, I made what's called like a ring connector. This little thing. It's that copper tube and it slides over this pin. Okay, so I was experimenting, didn't want to cut up the radio or the microphone, so I came up with these. Clever little solution. Okay, so I'm prefacing all of this as not a manual, but just use your imagination, be creative, work with what you've got. There's a few things here on this table that you cannot replace. There are many other things in other instances that will work. So let's talk about it. I'm going to do just as I go down through the pile. Okay. Microphone for the bearcat that did obviously end up getting cut up. I called somebody and asked for help. I said, I don't know how to wire this. I don't know how it works. And he says, how I learned when I was a kid is I opened it up and I looked at it. And I did. I downloaded a diagram for this microphone and then I opened it up to look at it. And I let it marinate and I came back to it the next day and then the pieces just fell into place. So again, I'm giving you a tool that you already have. It's called your mind. I'm just asking you to unleash it. Because, okay, this is a TRRS. Tip, ring, shield. TRRS. We don't need these, but we need this variety. This tool right here is instead of having to worry if you have a single input on your radio where you would need this, which would include the microphone as well as the output audio, we are switching to this. This is a USB audio thing. You know, you just got these two things are going to both plug into that. And this is going to go into your computer, and these wires are going to go to, let's get to it, clear this off, the Easy Digi kits. I suggest buying a couple of these. They work for a ton of different radios, like almost every radio. So very useful. I get 2 for $14.99 and I assemble them. I use it as practice to solder. I think it's well worth your time and it saves you money. You can get one pre-built for $10. Still a great deal. So off the table. I'll put the link in the video. This is for everybody. So again, these, link in the video, are $8.99 right now. I would suggest if you're working with a group of people to get a couple of these. Just buy 4 or 5 at a time. You may not need them all at once, but these are going to be super handy. These kind of allow you to adapt to any situation. These are going to work with the Raspberry Pis. We're using these on the RAD terminal builds. You can use them. They go with this. So very important. You know, there are other ways to do it. So getting rid of the wire here, getting rid of that. Random miscellaneous auto part CB stuff. A car CB radio. Say you're at the house and you have a metal handrail on your balcony. These would work great. Just bolt it onto the balcony, remove the paint, and screw this on, and you can use like a cheap $30, $40. I, on my truck, use a 6-foot trim to tune fire stick. The fire sticks are great antennas, 5/8 wave, incredible. You get great performance out of it. No stories, no time for stories. This is a RS232 serial adapter. This one is very, very special because it mimics the environment of the serial port, meaning its voltages. That's what's different with a USB, or works with a lower voltage than the serial did. So this has some chips in it, and it recreates the environment of the original 232 serial port. So don't try to save any money on this part. It's worth $18. So this is the one. Link in the description of the video. I've got these because we're going to be working with Raspberry Pis. I forget what they're called, but here, I'll show you this tag. Let's just look at the tag, freeze frame. Okay, now back to it. These are going to power a Raspberry Pi from a 12-volt battery. A Raspberry Pi is 5 volts. It's a 5-volt system. If you decide to use a Raspberry Pi in your build at any point, you'll need something like this if you want to not worry about being picky about batteries. This thing will do it for you. Not pictured here. Just remembered, you're going to need a multimeter. You got to have a multimeter. You're going to need to learn how to use a multimeter. Miscellaneous parts like this. Okay, now I'm not so much talking, this is for the antenna stuff, but I use a lot of hardware like this. Miscellaneous sizes. I go to the auto parts store right around the corner from here and get it. I go to AutoZone and they do this point system, and I end up getting a bunch of wire for free from there. So it's a great deal. This kind of stuff is going to be, now, I don't have all the antenna parts to show you, but obviously you're going to be buying the size that works with the hardware you're using. But these, a big collection of these is not going to do you wrong. So out of the way. This is for the audio build. You'll notice that this is female, okay? Because this is male. So I originally thought that this was going to be female, but that's a male, so we're going to plug that into and connect this cable to the Easy Digi board. We're going to cut this in half. So you get two. You buy one, you get two. You get two. So keep that in mind when you're getting these Easy Digis. Maybe buy two, just because a lot of the things, like I said, you cut in half and you get double. Okay, so thrift store find. This stuff is free in a lot of places. No radio. This radio uses this cable, so that's why I have it. But just at this point in time, you are going to be a savior for any kind of cable like this. Don't throw that stuff away. Don't allow it to be thrown away. At this point in time, this stuff is gold. It's $1. It's $1 now. How much is it going to be when you can't find it? So some couple of miscellaneous tools I use when I put up my antennas. I keep these in my pocket. They're super handy. So get a couple of these. For real. These are great. Very useful. Bad to the bone radio. We're not here to talk about this. This is for the Raspberry Pis. We went through and determined that these were going to work really great for our application on the RAD terminal. Think SneakerNet. Don't think this whole system, everything that we're talking about, is for transmission of data. Now, we're thinking way outside the box here, and we're not just stuck on radio here. This is a physical thing that you hold in your hand, and you can put this in your pocket, and it can go anywhere in the whole world. You can put it on a drone, whatever. Maybe buy a few of these. The minis go into the Raspberry Pi. So keep that in mind. If you're going to work with Raspberry Pis, these are the small ones that you want to get. They come with the adapters. Keep the adapters out of the way. Okay, so this is an antenna analyzer. This is a very expensive antenna analyzer, but you don't have to get an expensive one. I'm gonna publish some numbers for a tri-band dipole. 10, 11, 12 meters. I'm going to use this fancy tool here. You don't have to buy one, but being able to measure the SWR of an antenna is crucial for radio. So it's going to be something. I understand you can't afford it now, but be in the market, maybe be ready to buy one of these. Again, you don't have to get this one. This is a great one. I think I spent $500 on this. I think you can spend $100. I think you could probably spend these same guys, Rig Expert, make a $200, much smaller, much more compact little thing. That's the one I would recommend. If you want to spend less, but understand you're getting less of a tool. You're getting a lot for the money in this. These are bad to the bone, very easy to use, very intuitive, very easy to understand, and they'll help you understand they'll help you visualize how an antenna works. Okay, on to tools of the trade, more tools of the trade. Good soldering iron. This is a very small tip, so I'm going to put this next to, okay, here's a roll of electrical tape. That's the finest point that I could find, and it serves me well. I'm able to do, this is, get the highest, don't get a low amp, get it like a 20 amp or whatever, kind of a high draw. They get hotter faster. You need that. And this has a dial on it. You can control the temperature to some degree. Electrical tape. Buy a roll of electrical tape every now and then. You're going to need this stuff. Old microphones, trash or not, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not using this part. Like, we're not breaker. That's not us. We're not doing that. Yes, have a microphone. It is a great, wonderful function of the radio to have a working microphone. But anytime you get the chance, if you ever stop by a pawn shop, secondhand store, wherever, and you see these, it doesn't matter what the connector is, go ahead and pick those up. You're going to see, like I said, you're going to cut some of these up, but a lot of these, you're just going to need the wires out of. This thing is super helpful. So be picking up that kind of stuff. Okay. So this is not going to show up. It's going to be hard to show you. That's 4 wires. These wires are tiny. I tried. I was doing so much stupid, goofy shit trying to get this soldered. It's not even focusing. I'm sorry. But there's 4 tiny wires in there. And there's a video, a Pakistani fellow will show you how to do a beautiful job soldering these wires. It's very easy. Do not be discouraged by these tiny wires. Once you learn how to do it, it's very, very, very simple. It's straightforward. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. You follow the steps. You do it like the guy says, and you're done. But here I am. I'm going to show you this cable. This has a fancy brand on it, Monster. I got this at Home Depot, not Home Depot, Ace, a local Ace hardware store. I've already used one end off of it. I paid $5 for this, and this has like real wire in it. I'll show you. So these, there you go. You can kind of see the wires in there. Sorry about the focus. These are great, but don't be afraid of these. Like, I literally found, it's gone, foiled. I found a pair of broken headphones in the street, and I'm going to be able to use the tip off of it. So a little screwdriver set like this, super great. I use this a lot. Take apart these radios and stuff. That usually has what you need in there. Basic solder stuff, I like to use this small stuff. This stuff suits me really well. That's pretty small, so, it's just easier for me to control. I'm a welder by trade, and, the smaller wires, as you add the metal, it's less metal, so you have more control. So keep that in mind. You maybe don't get the big heavy stuff, but, maybe, who knows? I don't know everything, and I don't know you very well, so maybe you like the bigger stuff. So don't be afraid to try and experiment. And I literally just use whatever I got. None of this stuff is special. None of this stuff says this is radio stuff, but these are tools that work. So anyway, don't throw this kind of stuff away anymore. We're saving all this. It's all going to be good, especially when we're trying to show other people. I've had to spend money on stuff that people have thrown away in the past, and I find it ridiculous. So just hang on to it. Paste. This is when you're soldering old things to old things or new things to old things. You want this paste, so get some of the solder paste. Flux, they call it. This has flux in it. Get the solder with the flux in it. I think this does. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it does. But get the flux too, and you'll figure out how to do this. Okay. Paperwork. You're going to want to start a file, a collection. I print off all the manuals. Like when I get a radio, I get the advanced manual, download the advanced manual, and I'm printing this stuff off because I have to reference it so much, I can just, open up a page and leave it there and do my work and then go back, So I wish I had a folder for this. I got a coffee smudge or whatever that is on it. But I encourage you, wiring diagrams, you're going to need it again. If you go through this pain, make it easier for the next guy who comes behind you. Save the paperwork. Miscellaneous wires. Okay, you're going to get a collection of power cables and stuff like this. Obviously, you're going to save that. We already talked about it. This is a Wolf River coil antenna system here. We've got a few parts. This is legs for a tripod. Obviously, there's one more of these right here. Okay, look, a little whip here. This is like a 9-foot whip. So between this and this coil, I can use every part of this radio. Very cool system. And remember this little piece here screws right into that. So not only is this going to work with like a fire stick or something that you put on a truck, drive down the road. You would never drive down the road with this. You could, I guess, but I wouldn't. This will hook onto your balcony just like so. Hook the coax cable here, run it into the radio. You're good to go. There's very, very many solutions. If you're not using this that's clamped onto some metal, we need what's called a ground plane, and we can recreate the ground plane with wire. This is a drop off an antenna I made, but it would work as a great ground plane for any antenna. So again, we're reusing stuff. We're experimenting. We're collecting miscellaneous parts that come with, say, this is the part for the Wolf River coil that came with it with the tripod. But I find that this works better when I get in my truck and I use this antenna. It's a way better antenna on the truck than it is in the front yard. These are things to keep in mind. I'm passing this information on to you. Magnifying glass, different colors of electrical tape, really help with keeping wires separated and identified. I highlight all kinds of stuff. Again, you keep an assortment of this stuff around. This is some magnet wire. I'm not making toroids yet or winding, I forget what they're called, but I'm not to that yet. Ballons and ununs and stuff like that. So small wrenches and stuff. Like I said, I just kind of keep all this stuff handy. We're not using any real specialized tools. I'll give you, this is a pretty specialized tool. So, but I assume you've got a computer you're working with. This is my audio setup right here. And believe it or not, this is made as back-asswards as it could be. It was my first one. It still works, so I'm not too worried about it. There's a lot of room for error in some of this stuff. There's a lot of room for experimenting. I'm happy to answer any question. I'm going to keep the videos coming, so stay tuned. I stretched this out pretty long. Wow, 18 minutes, but it's over. Leave any questions in the comments, and I'll remember to add the video or the links in the description below.